All right. Welcome to another Midweek with Max. This is Rick, joined by JCV, Joshua, who can actually get on this platform, Jeremy Nation, Clayton Antonio, and of course our co-founder, Max Sanchez. It is the final Midweek with Max before the pre-orders of GTA 6 go live, unless they lie to us. Uh, all right. Well, that's enough for
Don't
me.
jinx it.
Take it. Huh? Say again, Jer?
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. We really need GTA to go live.
I know, I know. Well, pre-orders are Thursday, and we are not sponsored by Rockstar, but I know GTA 6 is near and dear to many of our hearts. So, anyway, we're digressing already. So let's kick it over to Matt. What show it is.
All right, sounds good. Thanks everyone for coming to another Midweek with Max. A couple of engineering updates. So from our side, we've been working more on the ZK provability. We're getting closer on the op-reth fork, doing some final internal testing and bug fixing before we push out a initial alpha release for the community to start playing around with. So moving forward on that, we're doing some auditing internally on the MinerFi ZK circuits, and then we'll be sending that out to third-party audit probably later this month or early next month. Well, June's already getting close to the end, so definitely sometime in July. Beyond that, we've also been making progress on the ZK Proving Marketplace, sort of a side project, but that's coming along, and hoping to have a demo of that for people to play around with on testnet in the relatively near future. Exact time TBD, but if you want to be one of the first to play around with that, make sure you are on the beta testers channel in Discord. Let's see, beyond that, I've also been working on some of the improvements to VE Hemi to be able to use it as an economic collateral system, so that feeds into the MinerFi product. So that is moving along. And I think those are the major items. We do have a small update to the HBit VM white paper, a couple minor fixes, and clarifying some of the language a bit to make it easier to understand. So that's probably going to be coming out later this week. That's minor if you've already read the original version. The material substance hasn't changed, but it should be a little easier to digest and understand. And I think those are the big things. So I'll go through the usual list. Unfortunately, no updates on the VBK side yet. As soon as we have them, we will definitely share them, and it is still coming. VE Hemi reward distributions will be coming soon. I don't have an exact date, but we are getting ready to do those in hopefully the next week or two. So those will be coming. Other than that, we made some progress on the Plutos report, so that will also be coming soon. Just doing some final review, making sure all the cross-chain data that we're referencing is correct and makes sense. And so doing a final review on that. And I think with that, I will kick it over to Rick, and we can go through questions.
All right.
Sorry, over to Jeremy for marketing, then to Rick to ask me questions.
There we go.
Well,
I'll get it right one of these weeks.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man. And then I'll pass it back to the wrong person. Let's see. This week we've got Accountable joining us on Built on Hemi, and we've also got our AMA this week as well. So we've got quite a few streams going on here. Don't miss them. Plus, we've got our happy hour subject sussed out, and we're going to be scheduling that in July. We don't have an exact date, but I think we're pretty close to narrowing it down. So stay tuned for that announcement in the very near future. And then otherwise, sometimes mystery is the spice of life. Max, I'll hand it back to you.
And over to Rick. One minor administrative item before we move over. So engineering, protocol engineering office hours. Got it right. Next week, or this week, is still going to be on Discord tomorrow at the usual time in the morning. We're switching to all morning sessions. And then starting next week, so not this next session, but the one after that, that's also going to be moving to StreamYard. So it'll be on YouTube, X, and LinkedIn, just like Midweek with Max. So I'll let Rick get into any additional details around that, but just be aware this week still on Discord, next week switching to the regular Midweek with Max platforms.
All right. Those are literally all the details. I have nothing else to add to that, but thank you. Let's pop into questions. Let's see. Alex asks, Hemi is built for institutions. What's the plan for the general public? Has the official position changed regarding this?
We are institutional focused, but we're trying to get both user bases because you can't have just a institutional product without retail users also using the platform in most cases. And we do still want something that like we as retail users of crypto also can use and want to use. So we're focusing on both. The institutional angle is good for getting volume, getting traction, getting interest. The retail is really that sort of groundswell of activity, more organic. So we are pursuing both. We are not pivoting, but we're trying to do more, community and retail focused initiatives. That's what we're doing with, for example, Guild, to try to get more people, on chain engaged, doing interesting things. That's what we're doing with the community gaming sessions. That's what once we get some more, probably HVM phase 1, some ordinal stuff. We're going to be doing a push to get people developing some cool, NFT focused, ordinal adjacent projects on chain, which has much more of a retail focus as well. So we're focusing on both. The institutional is, the way you get liquidity and, large economic energy on chain that then lets retail users participate in a lot of different protocols that maybe they can't participate in with just normal retail liquidity. So you need both sides of the coin, especially for what we're trying to build with Hemi. It should be a blockchain that anyone who wants to do stuff between Bitcoin and Ethereum can use, and there's tons of interest for institutional use cases of that. There's tons of interest for retail use cases. So we're definitely going after both. And on the retail side, again, the community initiatives, the renewed push on getting people to build stuff on chain. Ordinals is going to unlock some cool things people can build once we have HVM support for ordinals, which will be part of HVM phase 1, the upcoming HVM feature upgrade. MinerFi is going to make it, quote unquote MinerFi, still working on a name for that. But that system is going to make it easier for people to onboard and offboard Bitcoin on the network in smaller amounts, especially once we transition to HBitVM. So that's built to serve a retail audience who won't have the liquidity to go through normal HBitVM vault creations and vault unwinding. So it's a mix of both. And we're doing the CTF as well to try to attract more security researchers to the chain, developers to the chain, have some fun community engagement around that, building things, testing things on chain. So definitely working on more retail initiatives at the moment.
So I'll add one little bit. Like, to me, I don't think it in terms of just retail and institutional. I think the builders and creatives are a category like of their own that matter, and that we, all of you people who do that, either build, create, maybe there's a difference, maybe there isn't. I don't really give a shit. It's, I care about both groups equally and as one, but that is something that it's not just retail users. And, you're not, or you may come from retail users, you may come from institutional users, you may come from a totally separate group of, hackers and weirdos and artists and whatever the hell else do those things. But, we care about that group too. We are building and pushing towards that third group as well.
Well said. And yeah, absolutely. And there's many ways to get involved in that third group. Creative roles available readily in Discord, as well as the builder role, beta tester role, and join us weekly at 11 a.m. EDT for protocol engineering office hours, where you can ask your building questions. Speaking of questions, let's move on to the next one. Mudakon asks, does Hemi plan to offer separate environments for institutional users and retail users, or will both groups interact on the same unified network?
It's an interesting question. 99% is just the same network, the same protocols, the same way to use the network. If it makes sense in the future, we would consider doing things that are, and we haven't really seen this work in the crypto ecosystem, which is why we're not like actively trying to build this out. But there have been instances where people tried to build say like a KYC garden for a certain DeFi protocol or a certain asset on chain or something that let institutions participate. And it was sort of a institution to institution system. So we're not currently building anything like that. If there's interest and there's demand and it would bring, economic activity to the chain, we would consider it. But again, from what we've seen in the crypto ecosystem, other than like very specific niche use cases that are usually sort of driven by like a consortium of institutions who themselves want to build the system for them to all sort of play around in, we haven't really seen that sort of a platform take off, really get utilization. They've been sort of proof of concepts. They get a couple institutions on, they put out a press release, and then it's, nothing's happening in it 3 months later. So for the time being, everything's going to be the same chain, the same protocols, the same tokens. If there was demand, it's something we consider, but the primary goal is, whatever protocols that institutions are using, they're the same ones retail users are using, and they're two sides of one coin where, institutions are providing, where it's relevant, liquidity to make those protocols work so that retail players can use them. One of the examples would be the upcoming, again, hopefully we'll be able to talk more about this in the near future as we actually announce it. But the Hemi focused DEX product that we're building, for a DEX to be useful, you need somebody to be providing liquidity for it so that people can trade on it. So the liquidity institution side, institutions may also want to trade on it. Awesome. But then having that institutional liquidity then lets retail users get involved. So the current goal and the way we're designing everything is everyone on the same chain using the same protocols. If there was an instance where it made sense to do like a institutional focused specific protocol, we would do it. There may be some more sophisticated and niche products that could make sense to build that institutions would want that maybe retail wouldn't be interested in, but it wouldn't be that retail would be blocked from using those or anything like that. It would just be, maybe the way that we're, if we built like, say, the HBitVM based, native Bitcoin settled options and future system, maybe that'd be more of an institutional product. Retail users could use it, but it might have, large minimum volume requirements because of the sizes of the contracts to make HBitVM settlement on chain work correctly. So there may be instances of that where it's more of a retail or a institutional oriented product, but it wouldn't be that retail couldn't participate if they didn't want to also use the protocol.
All right. We have another question from Mudakon. I'm just reading these in order. Is the long-term vision for Hemi to act as an invisible back-end routing layer for other apps? Or do you envision a centralized Hemi hub where users actively go to choose their DeFi strategies?
So we're trying to do both at different levels. So I'd say for the sort of invisible back-end idea, like, I think that's where the crypto space in general is headed, and we've seen the space sort of moving towards this with things like account abstraction, intents, cross-chain, automated execution with keeper bot style bots where you initiate you sign a transaction somewhere and then somebody else takes it, pays the gas fee, executes it, does stuff on your behalf, and you're sort of abstracted away from the chain experience. So the goal is to support that. I think that's where the industry is heading. So you'll have, you look at like the way MetaMask has sort of evolved over time. You still have, the network selector in MetaMask, but they're trying to make it more of a, unified portfolio experience. And for some of the things that are in, MetaMask and other DeFi wallets now, you're sort of abstracted away from what chain exactly, this part of this trade is executing on, things like that. So the goal is to support that. And I think that's where, for people to really use DeFi, in a lot of cases, it sort of needs to get to that where a user can have a wallet, they can see what assets they own, they can choose to, trade them or stake them or put them in this protocol or that protocol or this yield farming thing. And they don't necessarily need to know that, it's the transactions initiated on Ethereum, and then it's tunneling this asset to the Hemi network and depositing it in, this vault, and then getting this receipt token, and then sending that over, using a OFT token and sending an OFT version of that over to this other network and doing this thing with it. So from an invisible backend perspective, I think we will see more and more of that, and the goal is to support, all of the features that those different user interfaces, largely wallets, need to facilitate that sort of seamless multi-chain experience. We have also talked about doing you mentioned like a centralized Hemi hub. We've talked about doing something like this, and there probably will be a version of this at some point where it'll be, a DeFi interface you can come to, and it is, you're interacting with the Hemi network, and it's giving you a portfolio of different strategies or different protocols on Hemi to engage with from a earn perspective, and that'll be under the Hemi earn product, essentially. So there's a lot going on under the hood. So if you're, tunneling Bitcoin from the Bitcoin network to Hemi, and then you're putting it into a strategy that's earning yield on, say, Ethereum, that would be abstracted away from you as a user, but it's still like a Hemi branded user experience. And then as we expand that out with more strategies for advanced users, for regular users, there'd be like the default path where you say, I want to put it in, relatively conservative strategy. Here's my estimated APY, one button, click, put it in, and then another button later, collect yield or take it out, right? But for users who want more control or more are interested in the underlying mechanics of where exactly assets are going, what protocols they're in, we would have an advanced option as part of that, probably in sort of a V2 of the Hemi Earn product. And that would be, you're choosing different strategies. You may be at least seeing or maybe being able to customize cross-chain routes for things, especially where there's maybe slippage, and you can choose a slower route with less slippage, things like that. So I'd say both, but I think the invisible backend layer is more where people are moving towards. And so we're trying to build products around that instead of making users go through, 5 steps and understand 3 chains and 2 cross-chain protocols, trying to make it easy to just abstract that away in, one click. Here's an asset. I know the, risk or the type of yield strategy it's being put into, click this button, execute, do it for me.
Right. We have a somewhat of a follow-up question to that in regards to DeFi. Mudakon again, for users who prefer a set it and forget it approach to DeFi, are there plans to build a native dashboard? It would be incredibly helpful to have a simple landing page where users can input their asset and instantly see the highest yield earning opportunities across the Hemi ecosystem.
Yep, I think I kind of already answered that with the previous one, but that's exactly what Hemi Earn is going to be. So Hemi Earn is going to be, it's going to start as just one strategy, super easy. You put in Bitcoin, it gives you a Bitcoin deposit address through our MinerFi system. You send Bitcoin to that, and just magically it gets put into and composed into DeFi across Hemi, Ethereum, and in the future, if there's good yield opportunities, other Ethereum ecosystem L2s, L3s. And then the subsequent versions of that are going to build it out for advanced users who want to choose different strategies, different risk profiles, but it'll be the same set and forget flow, just with more granular control over the risk to reward ratio for the different strategies that you choose to engage in. So short answer, yes, that's exactly what we're building.
That's awesome. I think we're definitely going to have to do a standalone AMA specifically for that when it comes out.
Yeah, we
I
should
think
do
that's going
some.
to be really
We're
exciting.
probably at least a few weeks away, but we should do like a demo session or something. Maybe part of
That would
midweek,
be
maybe
awesome.
as a standalone.
All right, let's see. Hadu asks, does Hemi have plans to launch more markets on Spectra with Hemi BTC?
We're definitely planning on launching things that are similar to what Spectra does for Hemi BTC. It may be on Spectra. I'm not sure on the details on the BD side. Short answer, something like what we had with BF BTC. Certainly, Spectra is a great platform, so hopefully on Spectra, it may be on another similar platform. I'm not 100% sure. But we are looking to do more of that type of product.
All right. I just saw a question just come in on YouTube, I believe. Can you tell us more about Vetro?
I can a little bit. So actually, we just launched the Vetro site, I think, a few hours ago. This is when the DNS propagation finally went live. So you can go to vetro.org, and essentially what Vetro is it's a I'm not going to get the exact terms right for we've gone through a lot of revisions, but you can kind of think of it as like a meta layer on top of stablecoins. And so technically it's a protocol generated stablecoin asset, which means you're able to put in USDC, USDT, in the future, more like blue chip stablecoin assets, and you get back generally 1-to-1, assuming there's no like depeg event going on. You get 1-to-1 back in VUSD for your deposit of the stablecoin. So you trade, one USDC or one USDT or one, insert XYZ future stablecoin here. You get one VUSD out of it. That can be freely traded and used in DeFi. You can use it for payments. You can use it just to maintain, a US denominated token balance on chain. But where it gets interesting is the staking product. So there's 2 staking products. I think we're only announcing the first one, which is SVUSD, so staked VUSD. And that is a ERC 4626 vault where you can put in your VUSD, stake it, and then you're automatically getting yield from the protocol. And what the protocol is doing under the hood is it's using the basket of stablecoins that it has deposited. So again, your USDC, USDT, all the other stablecoins will support in the future. And it's going and finding the best risk-adjusted yield for those stablecoins across Ethereum, Hemi, the entire Ethereum L2 ecosystem. And then it's engaging with those strategies, earning yield from that, bringing that back to the Vetro protocol. And then a portion of that yield is getting distributed by the protocol to people staking SVUSD. So it's basically a way, we were just talking about abstracting away and making yield like one click and super simple. So this is one of the ways that we're going to be doing that with Hemi Earn is basically using the Vetro product as a backend for it, where you can put in, and the same general structure works for stablecoins, ETH-based assets, Bitcoin-based assets. In the future, there could be something with RWAs potentially. Again, we've talked about RWAs before and how it's tricky to get a really, high quality RWA on chain that you can trust. And there's probably less demand for sort of a meta layer over common RWAs. But, maybe you could see something like that with multiple gold RWAs or silver, some precious metal, something that's itself the base asset is something fungible. But basically, so Vetro is this meta layer on top of multiple different representations of an underlying asset. So stablecoins, that's one, sort of pool where you have VUSD, SVUSD, and then we do have another staking product that'll be based around fixed term. And I don't think we've announced too many details on that yet. So as more of that comes out, we will announce that as well. But basically, you put in one of the accepted versions of the underlying asset, you get out this protocol generated representation that under normal operation is 1-to-1 with that underlying asset. You can use that as sort of a aggregation system across all the different assets that represent that same base underlying asset. And then there's a staking platform where you can basically get the best risk-adjusted exposure to yield for that class of assets just by staking into that, SVUSD or VET-BTC, SVET-ETH staking pool. And Vetro, I mentioned this briefly, but the Hemi Earn system is going to be sort of a usability wrapper around Vetro. So Hemi Earn is going to make it so that you can take, especially on the Bitcoin side, Bitcoin and the whole flow from your Bitcoin in a Bitcoin wallet, that you withdrew from Coinbase or that you mined on a mining pool or whatever, that Bitcoin being able to essentially one click move that over to Hemi, through Hemi over to Ethereum into the Vetro system, and then stake that all as part of one, from the user perspective, atomic transaction. There's stuff going on behind the scenes with permissionless keepers and things, but basically making that flow super easy. And ultimately that yield is the assets are going to go to the Vetro protocol, and the yield's going to come out of Vetro strategies for those different assets.
All right. Let's see. We are back to a Hadoop question. A little bit of a follow-up from the other one. Does Hemi aim to have other DeFi integrations, such as Aave, Pendle, and others, launch on Hemi?
Yes, long term, some of the bigger blue chip ones, especially given a lot of the exploits that we've seen across DeFi, people are a lot of the blue chips are sort of risk off for new deployments. In fact, they're trying to like cull existing L2 deployments. So long term, yes, probably not blue chip ones like Aave and Pendle in this market, but I think once the market recovers a bit, and once we kind of get through a lot of the DeFi craziness we've seen over the last few months, we certainly will be pursuing some of those protocols for deployments. Again, not maybe specifically those, but blue chip protocols of that sort for sure.
All right, let's see. Alex asks, have any team members been involved in Hair Games activities?
I have not, unfortunately, yet. I need to I need to hop on one of the weekly gaming sessions. I think has anyone else from the team played? I think some of the other engineers have played around with it.
I have not.
Okay, we'll need to do a protocol engineering Hair game session.
All right, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to ask the question, but it's going to have a bit of a lead up. And the lead up is the question is asked by the person who developed it, who also did a demo live last week about it. So I don't understand what the hell the question means. And the question is, when Mentora? It was last week.
I love when we get one questions that already happened because it's so rare.
I will
All
say
right.
we are planning to have Mentura join us on Built on Hemi in the near future. We are getting that date figured out.
That's excellent news because that was a great demo last week too. Thank you, Alpha. All right, let's get back. Oh, if we thought we were done with Alpha questions, we would be wrong. Let's see. Can you share an update on Hemi's overall growth and adoption metrics? What are some key statistics the team is most excited about?
Sure, I'd say the biggest one is Hemi BTC TVL growth. So let me pull up exact numbers here. So this is, and if anyone wants to see this, you can go to the Proof of Reserves dashboard. How do I post a link? If I just put it in the comments. If you could put the por.hemi.xyz link on either the chat or somebody just said I need a new hairstyle first. If you could put that on maybe a banner or put that in the chat. There we go, perfect. So if anyone wants to follow along. So we've seen good Hemi BTC TVL growth. And again, some of this is market movements too. So I do wish the accountable chart would let you see BTC instead of just the US dollar value, but basically we went from 3.5-ish million of TVL in Hemi BTC back in January to we had a peak of roughly slight peak at 16, call it 15 and change, market correction. Bitcoin's gone down a bit since then, so we're now hovering around 10 to 11 million, but that's been exciting. So we've gotten probably, looking at the underlying Bitcoin amount, again, not exact numbers, but something like a 3-ish X increase in Hemi BTC TVL. And that's like real Bitcoin that's being deployed into productive strategies, being used for interesting things. A lot of that's going through Hemi into the Ethereum ecosystem. So that's definitely a cool growth metric. Other than that, we have seen, and again, transaction count's not, a great number to look at for, it's someone can come in and, spam a bunch of transactions that do nothing and, artificially inflate the number or whatever. But we have seen decent transaction volume still going through the network. especially when there's any sort of market move in Bitcoin or Ethereum. We see a lot of trading activity come to the Hemi network, so there's been good metrics there. We did cross 2.5 million total active addresses, or total active at any point in the chain's history addresses, I think about a month ago. So that's a healthy, good metric to see it growing. And as far as account growth, I think we've seen, a few thousand new EOAs in the last month or so. So don't have exact numbers for that in front of me at the moment, but I'd say probably the headlines, the Hemi BTC TVL, because that's, real TVL, real Bitcoin people are putting into Chutes and Ladders through Hemi, through Ethereum. Expect that to increase too with Vetro as Vetro starts creating these new, one-click yield opportunities, and especially once we launch MinerFi, that makes it easier for people to just onboard and have a one-click flow from Bitcoin into DeFi and have the strategies automatically managed on their behalf. So those are the ones I'd focus on for now. In the future, the ones I'd like to see grow, obviously aside from Hemi BTC itself and just on-chain liquidity on dexes like Sushi, things like that. We do want to see more active community-driven protocols, things that people are building that people actually want to use. So we've seen some of that, which is awesome with some of the gaming initiatives in the community, and that is generating some transaction volume, which is super cool. So it'd be great to see that expand. And hopefully as part of the office hours that we're doing and as part of the new features that we're adding to HVM, seeing more people building some cool Bitcoin specific, Bitcoin DeFi applications that aren't just, take Hemi BTC and then do something with it as an ERC20, but those more native Bitcoin integrations, building protocols around, say tokenizing an asset inside of like a ordinals container and letting people trade Ethereum assets on the Bitcoin network, a Bitcoin MEV marketplace, non-custodial, peer-to-peer collateralized Bitcoin asset dexes, things like that. I think that would be, we've been talking about it for a long time. The HVM features are there for some of that. Some of the ordinal stuff's coming soon. And we are doing more of a push for getting people to start building and developing those sorts of protocols. So that'd be, it's not a numerical metric per se, but you could simplify it to protocols that do those things that people are actively using or active users of those. But definitely looking forward to seeing growth in those areas in the future.
All right. Here is an interesting one. Is there a risk that Vet BTC and Hemi BTC could compete?
Not really. They're different products. And so the Vet BTC is like a meta BTC. And so it makes it easy to homogenize liquidity across a lot of different BTC products, WBTC, TBTC, obviously Hemi BTC, possibly some more in the future. And so it acts as a liquidity source for Hemi BTC and those other BTCs. It lets people, it basically serves as a, relatively low slippage exchange between those, which is great for all of them. And then it serves as a way to take different BTC holdings and basically abstract away the complexity of which one you own, how exactly it works, and just get into a BTC denominated product. Whereas Hemi BTC is the Hemi tunnel version of BTC that's built to be that like core foundational asset. So they serve different purposes. In theory, you could have competition where, people move liquidity from, say, Hemi BTC to Vet BTC or vice versa. But ultimately, liquidity for Vet BTC is liquidity for Hemi BTC anyway by proxy. So that's really more of like an optics issue than an actual usable liquidity issue from a user perspective. So I'd say they don't compete, just like, we're not, VUSD isn't competing with stable coins really. There could be a little bit in like, somebody were to accept only one of the two assets for, payment in a store or something, I guess maybe. But the way it normally works in DeFi, having sort of that meta layer on top of an existing asset class is basically just another liquidity venue for those underlying assets as well. So in general, they don't compete. the ideal case would be the liquidity and the yield that something like VET BTC creates for multiple Bitcoin variants, including Hemi BTC, is a net benefit to all of those BTCs that are accepted as one of the deposit assets.
Right. This is more of a comment than a question, but from Yahoo's, we need to see more perp dexes built on Hemi, built by the community for the community.
So if you consider us the community, stay tuned. there is something cool in the works that I would love to share. I don't want to jump the gun on, but there's some exciting stuff coming from us on the Perps Dex side, so stay tuned for that. If somebody from the community wants to build a Perps Dex, let us know. Join the engineering office hours tomorrow, same time as midweek. And if you're building something interesting or want to build something interesting, we'd love to hear from you.
And just to remind y'all, the builder role is readily available in the Hemi Discord. Is there a relation between Vetro and Vesper? Caleb Does Stuff asks.
There is. So I'm not on the Vesper side, whereas I am on the team for Vetro. So we're using some of the same underlying smart contract technology. Vetro is an entirely different protocol. It operates differently. The end goals are different. So Vesper was more of a yield farming, yield vaults system. So you'd go and you'd say, I want to put my USDC in this strategy, or my USDT in that strategy, or my RS ETH or whatever in this strategy. Vetro is sort of a layer on top of that idea. So the Vetro is basically this meta protocol that, again, homogenizes liquidity and yield across multiple different assets in the same asset class. And so it uses that same underlying, or a similar at least, underlying vault structure where there are individual strategies. Those are on chain. You can look at, the allocation that the protocol has of the assets held in the protocol and what strategies those are in. Those go through vaults that are similar to the Vetro vaults, but the end user experience is different because it's, instead of just being, directly using these different vaults with these different direct assets, you're using this meta layer on top of it where you can come with any of the approved assets, you can get into the protocol, then later you can withdraw from any of those approved supported assets in the system, and under the hood, it's managing different strategies, different vaults, doing that across chains, automating yield collection, and then synthesizing that into the SVUSD and VUSDX products, the regular staking product and the fixed term, fixed rate product, and then the similar equivalents of those for BTC and ETH. So similar, share some common DNA, but it's packaged in a way that's a much different user experience that should make it easier to use, simpler, and also lets the protocol have more flexibility across a portfolio of approved blue chip assets in that asset class.
Right. Let's see. We did that, and now we are here. And this appears to be the last question that we had in the hopper. Lucci asks, as we know, there is no upcoming Season 2 reward plan, but according to the tokenomics, how will the remaining community rewards be distributed without a Season 2?
So we're not doing Season 2. We pivoted, and we've talked about this in past weeks, but I think it's been a while, so I'll sort of give the detailed answer. We switched from the monolithic season model to just ongoing liquidity campaigns. So we're doing liquidity campaigns through Merkle. Those are part of the community pile. We're doing developer grants and bounties for people who are developing on chain. That comes out of the community pile. As we do more initiatives for new stuff that we're, beta testers, that's coming out of the community pile once we launch some beta tester incentivized stuff. Everything we're doing with Guild. So we've gone from the monolithic, here's a season and you have to do stuff for 6 months, and then at the end you find out how much you get. We've swapped that model out now post TGE because there is a liquid token. We can do things with it to more, immediate incentive campaigns where it's, this amount of this asset given to provide people who provide liquidity in this DEX pool or this lending protocol for this asset or whatever. So still the same general design of there's incentives coming out of a community pile going to the community and people who participate and provide liquidity, do things on chain, and in the future help us test things through the beta program. But it's no longer in these long-lived seasons where you don't really know what you're getting and there's all these points and the conversion's not clear because we don't know how many people are going to participate. We've instead flipped around to you know what you're getting or close to what you're getting because they're ongoing liquid incentive campaigns that pay out, whether it's daily or weekly, things like that, versus this like long drawn out season process. And we may do things with some variant of points in the future, but it wouldn't be for things more than likely that are liquid economic impact things. It might be for beta testing something. There may be like at some point some sort of point season, and the idea being that we don't know how many people are going to participate, and so maybe the points mechanic works better there. But now that we're post TG and we have a liquid token that we can distribute, we've moved away from the point seasons type design to a immediate, quote unquote immediate, very fast turnaround liquid incentives campaign.
All right. We have a fairly specific question, but I'm going to kind of generalize it because I feel like generalizing may actually answer it for more people. If someone finds a security vulnerability, whether it be on Vetro or Hemi, where should these be reported?
So at the moment, for both Vetro and Hemi, you can report those through the Hemi VDP program on BugCrowd. Vetro is going to be, yep, thanks. We just posted a link in the banner. We are going to be separating Vetro's bug bounty program out into its own separate program. So once that's done, probably in the next couple weeks here, we'll announce that. But for now, while we're still getting everything launched, it can go through the Hemi program.
All right.
And one other thing. Wait, Rick.
Yep.
Got more, damn it. No, one other very minor bit is there's also a security at email that you can use. So, there's only bounties for things that go through the bug bounty program. But if you ever want to talk to the security team, either ahead of or while doing that or anything like that, you can always email security@hemi.xyz, and you will get to people who care about security. And yes, or security@vetro.org. So there's that one too, or those two.
All right. Okay. So that actually is the end of questions that I'm seeing. So seeing as we have some time left, Max, is there anything interesting on the ZK proof side of things that you can share with the community?
I'm glad you asked, Rick. Actually, we are getting close to doing an internal test of the new Ethereum side ZK tunnel. So that's not something that'll be publicly visible for a while because we're got to go through internal testing, internal review, and then maybe we'll do like a public, I'm not sure if we'll upgrade testnet directly or maybe do like a ZKnet, because there is, I don't want to dive too much down the rabbit hole because probably a lot of people don't care about these specifics, but basically as part of the HBIT VM system that we're working towards, building, the ZK proving of the Hemi network and being able to settle that to Ethereum is a subcomponent of that. And the other component is that for the new proof of proof updates that we're making, where basically Ethereum attestation data gets published to Bitcoin as a way to sort of by proxy secure Ethereum against nothing at stake attacks, against the ZK verifier, using Bitcoin's proof of work as a defense mechanism. That system needs a Ethereum network that actually has like the active. Well, we can test it best if we have an actual Ethereum network where there is real proof of stake going on. And so it could make sense to launch like a ZK net or something like that, which would be another test net, but instead of being on Sepolia, it might be on, say, like Holsky, or maybe like a semi-private Ethereum test net that still does have like active validators, so we can actually test the full like attestation publication, verification, fraud submission back to Ethereum. So stay tuned for that. It won't be, next week a beta of that or anything like that, but we are getting close to doing some internal testing on that, and then need to figure out what makes sense to launch, either again, upgrade our current testnet somehow, or maybe launch a separate short-lived, ZK net to test that out. And that'll definitely be something that we'll want people to play around with, give usability feedback, look for bugs. So if you want to be a part of that or testing any of the other cool stuff we're working on, we got the ZK Prover Marketplace and codename Minerfy, the fast bridge on and off the Hemi network for the Hemi Bitcoin tunnel. All of that will be coming to the beta testers channel when it's ready. So definitely stay tuned for some cool stuff to play around with. Hopefully, there'll definitely be some stuff to play around with in July, but stay tuned for exactly what at what time as we finish up our internal testing. But yeah, we've got some cool ZK stuff coming, so definitely stay tuned. And we're going to be open sourcing Oxygen fairly soon too. So if you're interested in ZK proving Bitcoin, what that looks like, how we're doing it, we've talked about it a lot on Midweek, and then also the engineering AMAs. I always seem to find a way to bring it up, but that should be open sourced in the relatively near future as well. So that'll be, if you're interested more in the tech side of it, that'll be a fun thing to review as well.
All right, that was the fastest I've ever heard you talk about ZK provability.
I'm getting better.
Provability. I know, but I was actually looking for you to fill more time. All right, well, with that, could we? Is there anything about the Capture the Flag event we could share?
Yeah, I don't think there's too many updates. We've been working on some new ideas for some fun challenges. I don't want to reveal too much about those, since we want to keep the challenges kind of private until the event actually happens. But we have some cool stuff around ZK that we're working on, a couple fun Bitcoin related ones, some cool like general cryptography ones, obviously like smart contract vulnerabilities and exploits. We are still figuring out the exact mechanics, but it's probably going to be, we'll probably have 2 parallel tracks, so you can either participate as a team or as an individual. We're going to have some things that are not vulnerable to Sybil attacks be entirely permissionless to compete. So anyone can participate permissionlessly, but for certain rewards, you will have to do some sort of anti-Sybil. We're looking at maybe using Discord for that, details TBD. But certain things that don't require Sybil resistance, like the first person to complete a certain challenge, things like that will be open and completely permissionless for anyone to participate in. It's going to be run on the Hemi testnet and correspondingly Bitcoin and Ethereum testnets where those are relevant. I don't think there's too much else to add. There will be NFTs, there will be merch, there will be a panda costume somehow, some way, somewhere. So I don't know, John, if you had anything else you wanted to add to the CTF, but I think probably no major updates, but moving along. And as soon as we can, we'll announce probably a tentative date for it, but it's probably going to be a few weeks until we have a date locked down.
Yeah, there's not too much we can say, just because, again, like Max said, we want to, we're going to have the challenges are not things that we want to give anything away ahead of time. We are actively working on them, and once we get a couple of them sort of internally locked down, we'll start pushing on a date. And I think we sort of settled on, we like the idea of it being over a weekend, right?
Yeah, probably like starting Friday evening and then ending sometime on Sunday, something like that.
Yeah, and we will, try to make it so that even though it's a weekend, there'll be, people in the team will be, around-ish. So we will be here for interesting things, because this one should be fun. And that's the whole point of it. Fun and, get your hands in the sort of security guts of things.
And if you have any suggestions for either a specific challenge that you think would be interesting or a category of challenge that we haven't talked about, definitely let us know. We are trying to keep it to minimal infrastructure, and there's two reasons. One, we don't want to have to manage a bunch of infrastructure for like a 2-day event, but also the more we reduce it to just things that are on-chain, code downloadable from GitHub repos, things like that, the more it's reproducible. So people who come after the CTF, a year from now could still go and like participate and complete the challenges and learn from it. So we are trying to keep mostly to on-chain things, on-chain verifiable things, or things. We're using ZK proofs as a way to make a lot of other things on-chain verifiable that wouldn't normally be, but they're still like, I don't know what the right word is, like static challenges, something like there's a, Bitcoin address that signed these 2 transactions, figure out how to recover its private key, right? That data is going to be on Bitcoin forever. You can always reference it. You can prove you got the private key and prove that to a smart contract, right? So any challenges that fit that sort of model, if there's something particular that you think would be fun, interesting, maybe relevant to recent exploits we've seen in the space, anything like that, let us know, because we have our list, but I'm sure there's some other cool ideas we have not thought of. So definitely let us know.
Yep, and remember security is kind of fun. Like, as much as we always tell people to build things, breaking shit is fun. That's why people get interested in security. It's because you want to poke at, the corners of things where maybe things don't exactly work the way they should, or yeah, I guess actually basically that. It's like poking in the dark corners and breaking shit is how security works, and that's why people do it.
And it's an endless cycle. The more cool stuff you build, the more cool stuff you get to break. And that's why we have protocol engineering office hours, so that we can help you build so much cool stuff that you'll never run out of stuff to break.
Not exactly, but close enough.
Yeah, we'll take it.
I will also add, we've gotten a lot of questions, not so much here, but for people who have been part of office hours, how do I get started? How do I learn DeFi smart contract development? How do I learn cryptography or the Bitcoin protocol, the Ethereum protocol, understand how they work under the hood? You will need like at least some, minimal amount of knowledge to play in the CTF and have it be fun, but we're trying to set the bar fairly low so that, if you maybe watched a couple Solidity videos, how to compile a contract and deploy a remix and call a couple functions, there should be something fun to do for everyone at pretty much any skill level. And breaking stuff is a great way to understand how these systems work. And so if you are trying to learn, maybe you have no interest in being a security researcher, but you'd love to understand more about smart contracts, well, going and breaking smart contracts, seeing how they work, trying to reason about them, that's a great sort of trial by fire way to learn it. So the goal is not just to be, a fun event. Of course, we're trying to do that. But we're trying to make this into a learning experience for if you're interested in building DeFi protocols, blockchains, cross-blockchain messaging protocols, ZK-based technologies, you're using cryptography for something. If you fall into any of those categories, there should be something that's fun, educational, interesting for you to work on as part of the CTF.
And actually, on the security front, Rick, do we have Teach Rick Crypto episode 2 out yet?
That is being uploaded today.
All right.
As a matter of fact. So yeah, you can head right over to Hemigo TV right here on YouTube. Give that a like and subscribe. There's a couple episodes of Protocol Engineering Office Hours, as well as our series Teach Rick Crypto, where you can learn alongside me. I guess I won't be wearing a panda costume for this yet. But yeah, you'll get to pick up some cool tips and tricks. And episode 2 is going up today, and we also have a playlist of community created stuff. Our moderators have been doing an awesome job with that. Jeremy's been reviewing a lot of content, myself as well, and we're trying to come up with a better flow of how to get that up so we can have a ton more content up there. But yeah, we should have a lot more stuff in the near future on Hamigo TV, including Teach Rick Crypto Episode 2, which will be live probably like 10 minutes after this call. Because
And
I
that one
don't
is
I don't think I can do it while being on this call, but otherwise it'll be up.
so that one is is mostly about wallets and gas. So if either of those are things that you have ever felt confused by, it's worth a watch.
It really is too, because my entire concept of wallets was different after that conversation. Not like a physical wallet. I mean, I know what the fuck a physical wallet is. I think we all do, but you know what I mean. Like,
I mean,
a crypto
we did
wallet.
cover that too.
We did also cover that too. It's really interesting. But we're gonna get into some other more advanced topics. Believe it's episode 3 where Clayton took me through something, and oh
That
boy,
sounds way more ominous than what it actually was.
well,
Spoilers,
I mean-
guys. No spoilers.
we like mystery around here, right? I just remember I was getting very confused about what was it? It was it the Coinbase thing?
I
Yeah,
don't
I think
remember.
I think that was actually episode 4. Episode 3 is the Rabby demo.
Oh, that is episode 4 with Clayton. Episode 3 is the Rabby demo. Okay. Which I was actually pretty good with because I do have Rabby. And I really like Rabby. This
Yes,
is not a commercial for Rabby.
Episode 3, we actually spent real crypto on doing random little things. So
That's true.
Fun stuff.
And then I believe episodes 5 plus are currently in development. So hopefully we'll be recording those soon.
And there will be a Teach Rick ZK at some point, so stay tuned for that
There-
one.
Yes, you expect that to be like the like the Lord of the Rings uncut edition of Teach Rick Crypto, because that's going to be a hell of a journey. All right, well, we are shockingly at the top of the hour. I haven't seen any more questions come in, and therefore I think we can wrap things up. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible because everyone always gives me shit because my outros are too long. So hold on, let me cover a couple things real quick. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our entire moderation team. Thank you for supporting Midweek with Max every week with great questions and community turnout. Join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. EDT for Protocol Engineering office hours. It'll be our final one in Discord before moving to StreamYard next week. We also have our monthly engineering AMA coming up on Thursday at a time that if someone could help me out with, I'd
It's at
appreciate it.
12 p.m. 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and all the other corresponding times that go along with those two.
Thank you, sir. This is why we really got to get on UTC. That would make Joshua very happy. Oh, actually, sorry. Fuck, I did it again. Now it's going to be a really long outro. The guild beta is going to continue as community members have seen like a ton of different things that certainly need adjusting. So he's probably going to punch me in the throat for doing this. But Joshua, is there any guild update we can share with the community?
We're currently in communication with the guild team and just getting them to fix a couple of issues that we've noticed. And then hopefully we'll post an update on Discord once we have something more interesting to share.
All right, thank you, sir. But yeah, the beta program is still rolling right along. So if you have the certain Discord roles and qualify, by all means, get in there and let us know what you think, any suggestions, and certainly any bug reports. All right, with that, I'm gonna shut the hell up and pass it over to the team for outros. But thank you all again, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming to another Midweek with Max. We will hopefully see some of you tomorrow at the Protocol Engineering office hours. And see the rest of you next week on Midweek with Max or on the AMA that we have coming up, or I think Jeremy also mentioned a event with a partner. And
yeah,
so
we've got
hopefully
Bill and Hemi coming on this Friday with Accountable.
Perfect. So hopefully we see you on some or all of those, and we will see you next week.
All right. Take care, everyone. Hold on. Let me